On June 1st, I was arrested for nonviolently protesting the annual Jerusalem Day Parade. I had originally traveled to Israel as part of a interfaith peace group and tour group as well. Earlier that day, of my arrest, I visited Hebron, which is the largest Palestinian city in the West Bank, which is a city that is completely segregated. It's arguably the ground zero of Israeli military occupation. The entire city center is occupied by about 600 settlers who are extremely ideological and basically whose security needs, quote unquote, result in the constriction of the movement of over 165,000 Palestinian residents. Turning from Hebron that day, we saw these miles and miles of blue and white Israeli flags, hundreds of thousands of people on the streets of Jerusalem marching to celebrate the anniversary of the Israeli seizure of East Jerusalem in the Six-Day War. And I mean, it's an annual parade. However, this year there was something different in that the municipality approved a different parade route that went directly through the Arab neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah. And we were seeing what we had saw in the previous week and a half. We were very disturbed by this, particularly with the very virulent racism of many of the marchers who were settlers, chanting "Death to Arabs" and "Muhammad is dead." We decided in the aftermath of Netanyahu's speech at Congress and to take a stand and as Americans and human beings first and foremost, and myself as a Jew, and hold up peace signs on the other side of the street on the sidewalk and walk up and down the sidewalk. And gradually we were joined by Palestinian Arabs, residents of East Jerusalem. We didn't originally intend for it to be a demonstration, but it became a nonviolent demonstration. And I mean, it was peaceful throughout. We were standing on the sidewalk, and then literally out of nowhere, the Israeli police were mobilizing. The riot police came in with horses. They literally came up to the sidewalk, grabbed me, dragged me into the street, and I was punched, put in a chokehold, slammed to the ground, and arrested for, basically exercising my freedom of speech.
What did they say to you when they arrested you?
Constant stream of curse words, fuck you, motherfucker, etc., etc., etc.
And when you were arrested, what did they do with you?
They slammed me into a car, and they basically took me to the nearest police station, where I was detained for many hours before I saw a lawyer, and then ultimately I was detained for 2 days. I was never formally charged with any crime whatsoever. In fact, both of my trials, the topic was entirely whether or not I should be placed under house arrest. The Israeli judicial system is very esoteric in the sense that you can be held without being charged with any crime, for example. However, my detention was, far easier than anything a Palestinian would go through. For example, Palestinian prisoners go through something called administrative detention under military tribunals, in which they'll spend anywhere between 4 and 18 months in prison awaiting trial without being charged.
And how did you get to see a lawyer?
I was assigned a public defender.
And how did the lawyer get you out, such a criminal that you are?
Basically the judge found no reason to further detain me in prison, considering that I was no quote-unquote menace to society. I have been warned that if I do try to return, I will be arrested and tried. I will, try every, means in my power to return and exercise my right to return.